Ronna Siegel.
Great.
Ronna Siegel here.
Steve Haverstro.
Hank Green.
Carl Mason.
George Bennington.
Gene Goodman. Keith Ritchie.
Okay. Roll call is completed. We have a quorum. First order of business is to approve. We have 2 minutes to approve. The first one was from our April 6th meeting. And then our special meeting held on April 25th to discuss the Pops in the Park concert. For the April 6th meeting, is there a motion to approve?
I so
Okay.
move.
Move, and Gene, you seconded? Okay, all those in favor, raise the right hand. Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. For the April 25th, meeting, is there a motion to approve? Carl, thank you. Hank seconded. Motion, all those in favor, raise the right hand. Opposed? So carried. Thank you. First order of business, well, second order of business will be the PB Knowles to discuss the Waveney Park Conservancy's sculpture.
We're having a connectivity issue, but here's a few copies.
All right, that's cool.
Have to share.
That's okay.
I have a couple copies here too. On my
Sure.
screen. Is this where I should stand? My first meeting, yes? Hi. Hi,
Hey,
everyone.
hello, welcome.
How's it going? Well, I'm, yeah, you're getting the pictures ahead of my presentation, so.
Sorry.
So hi, everyone. Thank you for letting me come here today to give this presentation and proposal on behalf of the Waveney Park Conservancy. I'm Phoebe Knowles. I'm the new executive director there. I started in February, getting my bearings, who does what, town, conservancy, garden club, beautification, a little of everything. We, as I'm sure you know, have a bunch of projects related to the grounds of Waveney Park. In addition to those projects, something that I'm very focused on is creating ways for the community to engage more in the parkland beyond just the recreation offering. So think Central Park. How do you actually enjoy the park as a place? How do you interact with it? How do you engage? We have had an opportunity presented to us as a town and as a community. There are 2 sculptures that are currently on display at King School in Stamford. Their run there finishes on March 31st, and they're looking for a new temporary spot to spend some time. They were part of King's initiative on digital wellness. And they used them as a starting point for a lot of community conversations on our constant interaction through screens, through lenses of technology, and the impact and influence it has on our relationship with the physical places we're in, the events we're at, right? I myself, I'm always looking at my children through my iPhone, you know, that's part of the conversation. And we have an opportunity to bring those sculptures to Waveney for a period of time. And that's why I'm here, because I would like permission to do that, or at least the conversation to start to do that. So some of you have images. I have other ones here, which I will pass around if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So they are cell phones. They're big.
Thank
Yeah. This is me standing in the ones at King. So you can see the scale.
This is King Low Haywood.
King Low
Oh,
Haywood,
no,
yeah,
no, wait,
of course,
Newfield
yeah,
Avenue.
in
Okay.
Stanford. You have a
think
couple
yes.
there. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would hit this package. We have as well.
You have, yeah, that's, so these are the,
This is the one with you?
this is me. These are the 2 we would have
Yep.
at Waveney. If we had the chance, they're underutilized at King right now because they don't have a beautiful background like the one with the Manhattan skyline. My hope is to put them at a place where you can see. I want to put them here. I want to put them down in the field at the top of a walking path, where when you stand in it and take pictures, you have Waveney House behind you instead of the New York skyline. And they're outside of any pictures of weddings or concerts, or, you know, that I don't think they disrupt. And if we do it right, they are a point of conversation for the community and a reason for people to come and enjoy Waveney. More than they already do. Sorry, I'm giving you my back. And I have some information about the actual pieces. They are, they're called Yard Shadow iPhone and Yard Shadow Samsung. The horizontal one is the Samsung, the vertical one is the iPhone. They are made out of aluminum and wood with steel and enamel paint. They are installed easily and they're durable, and you're meant to interact with them and stand on them and take pictures in them and enjoy them. I'm hoping it will create some social media for the Conservancy, reasons for people to post and engage with what we're doing, more than just planting, which is cool for a lot of people, but I'm looking for a slightly broader reach for the Conservancy. And I think an art installation is an easy way to start, especially when there's very little cost. Transportation from King to here, which John and I have discussed. He thinks he can help me with that. We'll need to store them till we figure out when the installation will be. John's also on board with, has an idea of where to do that. Installation, there's a company that John's recommending who also installed the maps at Waveney, so something that would have the experience to properly install it so it's safe. And I think the last piece is Tucker and I are working on proposals for how to insure the pieces in the case that comes up, which I think it should. If we're taking possession on loan, they're loaning us his artist's art. My experience is that he will want it insured.
How long are you planning to have the pieces there?
I'm thinking a month. Maybe a July, or first week of June installation and go for a month. I'd love more than that, but I also don't want to push my luck.
Mhm.
And I had authority last night from my board to request this for a month.
Okay.
Yes,
You mentioned that it becomes available, I think you said March 31st.
I'm sorry.
Did you mean May?
I meant May
31st?
31st. Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for clarifying.
Okay.
Soon, yes.
Yes.
See?
Okay.
You may not believe this, but we oftentimes get really hung up on signage and its color and sizing and everything else. Is there any signage indicating what it is, where it's from, or anything like that?
You know, I was thinking what they've done at King is they have a very small sort of black and white sort of question, things to think about, that's sort of posted next to them in the actual grass where they are. But also they were at a school. So it was sort of, it was pedantic. They were teaching about this thing. And I don't know if we actually have to.
Well, you don't have to have signage, but typically the commission is interested in the nature, size, and so to speak, of signage.
I don't see signage so much as announcing it in social media and making it clear in other places what it is.
That's okay. It's
Because I
just-
think the interaction with the actual piece is important, and I worry about signage kind of getting in the way. Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Even a little inscription on the side of it, just saying who the artist is.
There may
and
be, yeah.
the name.
Who owns the sculpture?
So they're on loan to King, the artist owns
Okay.
them. King commissioned them for this digital wellness
Mhm.
initiative. But now I think I think they had a rotating display, and so they now are sort of homeless. Though I'm told that there are other people, not homeless, in between homes, because apparently there's other interest as well for them. So I wanted to jump on it before they get
Gotcha.
taken.
Think about interacting with the exhibit. How sturdy they are. Are they for people climbing on top of them? And this is a park, and people may consider, this
So
is something to
It's a
climb on
great
top of.
question. So if you can see, I don't know if you can see the picture of me standing in it.
Mhm.
So I gave it a good shake.
Yep.
It didn't budge at all, and I wanted to be able to answer that same question. I mean, I don't think it's designed for people to sort of do
hang
gymnastics
on,
on the
yeah.
top. It's also quite, well, maybe. But I think that's why John was interested in a very, specific installation,
Yeah, yeah,
to make sure that it's sturdy but it's supposed to be touched. I mean, I think that's also cool.
yeah.
That it's not a fragile piece. And it's designed for people to, mess around with it.
Inside, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is our liability if someone, would climb it and climb and fall off? Do we know?
Town has insurance, obviously. That happens.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Does it, would a sign saying, please don't climb on the sculptures be useful or?
A lot of times we're better off to leave signage out.
Okay.
If we tell somebody they can't climb on it, then.
Fair enough.
We have to enforce it too.
John, is there,
Yeah.
is there precedents, are there precedents for people putting sculptures on loan in the park? I think it's a great idea.
The
I would be
nest was
for it.
there in 2019. That was quite beautiful. Yes, there is.
Okay.
There's, that I'm aware of even, just a.
Okay.
It seems educational, so it's not like we're promoting a particular artist.
Right, that's why I like this piece too, is it's not about the art per se, it's sort of a larger conversation that has touch points with the rest of the community and hopefully schools and parents, and
Makes you think a little bit.
it does, that was my sense.
Do you feel it is far enough down that if there, because when you're on the deck of Waveney, it's a 180 degree view is majestic. And somebody starts seeing a statue there. And because art can be very controversial. What I like, what pleases me may not please you.
I understand,
Okay.
that, of course.
And I think to say it's a month, you just, because there will be some feedback to the town on these statues,
Totally.
good, bad, or otherwise. That's just the way it,
I mean, I thought this spot, this is my proposal, I'm available to other options, but this I thought was the spot, because there's a trail right here, it's quite far from the house.
okay.
But if you stand in it, you can get a picture of the house behind you, and I do
Right.
think using it to have the background, like the city skyline, makes it nice for promoting Waveney.
Okay.
Because it could be anywhere if you put it somewhere else, so I would like the house or something like that in the view.
Okay.
John, would that be about 400 feet away would be my estimate from the house? About
Say
400.
maybe even a lot more.
Yeah, so
It's quite a ways away.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
We'll be able to see it from that distance. So in terms of like, it'll attract you still, right? You'll see it off.
It might be too far for that, that's one
Right.
of my concerns, but I'm very aware of the view, of the pristine view from the house. We discussed it last night at our meeting, do you put it going down the hill so you can see the pond? We thought probably not. And I think the debate, right, is how far from the house in that yard in the back. And, I think coming up from the path, it would be cool to see them right there. So from the house, it's far, but from the path, it's like right there, which it could be neat.
Okay.
Yes.
Is your plan for this to be a one-off?
I don't think I'm gonna start like an art series in the grounds of Waveney. I don't see that as something that I'm proposing. Honestly, I'm looking for things to talk about. From the Conservancy, we've been a little sleepy, just because of COVID and changes in leadership, and great, amazing stuff that they're doing. But as far as news and events and things like that, it's longer term projects, and we're doing an amazing amount of them, but it's hard to get community excitement on that stuff. So really, I'm looking for something where I can do an art opening and I can engage, invite people and have a reason for people to come, and a conversation starter. And it could be another kind of programming after that. But I do think there'll be some programming, and if the right piece presents itself like this, I would come back to you for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So your proposal is to have a statue in place for 1 month.
yes,
Okay. From
early June to early July.
early June. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know the exact date of installation, but we can work that out, I guess. But
Is the Conservancy picking up the cost of the installation as well?
there's very little cost, but we will, yes.
Okay, I appreciate it. All
No
right.
cost there.
Yeah.
And the variable, ask Tucker, we'll look at if there's any insurance costs associated with adding this insured piece to the rider of the property insurance.
Okay.
Is how I imagine it'll work.
Appreciate it. All right.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions from commission members?
The artist is not going to be involved in this at all?
He is, so we have a board member, Marianne Kolb, who curated the show at King, and she knows the artist, and he will be around. And he's in favor of this move. I think he can be as involved, he's in Brooklyn, he could be as involved or yeah, as we decide. But for sure, he's part of this decision to move it here.
Okay.
He's on board, I put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from commission? Francesca, Rana? And Matt, how are you?
I just had one
right,
question,
good to see you.
George. It's Rana. I was going to ask I think it's Think Phoebe, the Imagine sculpture that's in the front now, the giant head, which is an amazing piece of artwork, by the way. How long is that there?
So that's the carriage barn. That's Nato Conservancy. So I'm actually not sure about
Okay.
that. It's so cool. I love that piece.
Great,
Okay.
they're here.
Yeah. And it's a great point.
Can you grab the stuff off
Um,
the printer for me, please?
It's a great point because there's sculpture installation all over town with the
Mhm.
glass house and the sculpture trail, and it just sort of puts us loosely, not directly
Sure.
related, but kind of related on the subject of sculpture in a natural spot. So I also think that that's synergistic for everyone.
Gotcha. Okay.
I just think words you use.
Any further questions? Comments? I think we're ready to proceed with the vote. The motion is to put these two statues in the Waveney Park for a period no more than 30 days. Timeline in the June, July period. Is there a motion to accept? Keith? Is there a second? Thanks, Steve. All those in favor, raise the right hand. Opposed and carried. Nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
very
look forward to
much.
seeing what happens here.
Yeah, I really appreciate your.
No
your
problem.
support.
Okay. Okay, Steve Carl, are you here on Zoom? Or Robin, are you stepping in?
Yeah, I'm stepping in.
Great. Robin, welcome.
So is any or the middle? Just the one. That one, please. Hi, thank you. So unfortunately, Steve Carl couldn't be here tonight, so I'm just filling in. It's regarding the Steve Banco pool dedication. The pool dedication is set for the morning of Saturday, June 4th at 10:30 a.m. There will be a brief ceremony and coffee and donuts will be served afterwards. The committee envisions some seating near the pool for Steve Banco's family, invited guests, and town officials. The dedication will be open to the public, and they are encouraged to bring their own blankets or chair and sit in the lawn surrounding the pool area. The New Canaan Police Department and CERT have been contacted, and they have agreed to be on call for the dedication. Parking will be in the pool parking lot, as well as the paddle court and dog park parking lot. There is a lacrosse tournament that weekend, but Jay Egan has made it clear that there'll be no parking issues for the 90 minutes or so that people will be parked for the dedication. Dedication is not 90 minutes, but figuring that people will be milling about. The New Canaan Beautification League, we're working with John Howe, and we'll purchase and design the plants around the Steve Banco pool sign. We'll be planning it before the sign is actually put in. And because we're going to keep the sign as kind of a surprise, so but we'll have the plannings in before the dedication, so it's all ready to go. There will be a signage unveiling and comments from past pool committee members, town officials, and Steve's family. And an invitation will be sent via email, and there will also be information listed on the town website as well as local media outlets about the dedication. Any questions I can help with?
Any questions or comments? I think this is wonderful. Steve, Carl, and Robin have worked really long and hard to put this together. I encourage everybody to attend. I'll certainly be there. There'll be a lot of warm remarks made by people who've known and worked with Steve for many, many years. And I think his family will be over the moon
Yes,
with this. So
excellent. Thank you.
my support. So we do need to approve this. Is there a motion to accept? Thank you, Steve. Is there a second? Thank you, Rana. All those in favor?
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer, as they call it.
And again, it's June 4th, sorry.
June 4th at 10.
June 4th, June 10:30. Hillary, are you presenting together?
Yes.
You are, okay, welcome,
All right, so
welcome.
Do you have a copy of our presentation?
I do.
Okay, good. So I'm Angela Piscatello. I'm president of the board of the New Canaan Society for the Arts. This is
I'm Norman Toy. I'm treasurer for the New Canaan Society of the Arts.
And Hillary Whitman, I'm the executive director.
So we were just hoping to give you an overview of both organizations. All right. So we thought it made sense to start with the mission statement. The mission statement of the New Canaan Society for the Arts is threefold. One is to promote the visual and performing arts, to enrich the community through exhibitions, education, and cultural experiences, and then thirdly, to operate the Carriage Barn Arts Center. So that's how the Carriage Barn operates.
Mhm.
In terms of our background, we're around since 1977. We're a member-supported organization, a cultural organization, and we have 10 major exhibitions in the course of a year. So those are a mix of juried events and member events. We have 4 main juror events, which are a big deal. We showcase the artwork of the New Canaan High School students and some New Canaan High School alumni. And then in the spring, around this time, we bring art to the windows in downtown New Canaan for the enjoyment of pedestrians and for shoppers. And this year we did once before partner with the New Canaan Land Trust, but there'll be a sculpture trail again this summer in town. The gallery is open daily from Wednesday to Sunday. It's free to the public. And we have about 11,000 guests over the course of a year. So of those 11,000 visitors, about 7,000 of them come to the exhibitions, 1,500 come to programs that are surrounding the exhibitions or types of classes, and then another 2,500 come from rentals or community events that use the Carriage Barn. We are led by a full-time executive director. We have 3 part-time employees. We've got a board and an advisory board of 14 members and 5 members respectively. We've got past board members who serve on the advisory committee. Most of our board members are actively involved. Our budget, we've got around 400 members. Our budget's around $175,000. We operate close to break even. And facility expenses, the building is owned by the town of New Canaan. We pay the operating expenses to be there. And then when it comes to capital improvements or any type of improvement, we share in the expenses. So we just went through a major renovation. If you haven't been to the Carriage Barn, I urge you to come and see how lovely it looks. And I'll tell you more about that on the next page. So our renovation project started as a project to make the bathrooms ADA compliant. But during that same period of time, there was a growing demand from the town. We had increasing attendance at our exhibitions and in the programs. We did a survey of the community, and we discovered that there really was a large need for classes and more programming and more music and lots of things going on. And so we expanded the renovation. We installed air conditioning to make it operational for 12 months out of the year. We have a new multi-purpose room where we can run all sorts of classes and organizations in town can use for meetings. And the bathrooms are ADA compliant. And then also another feature was we redid the entrance, which is much more welcoming. And I think it's a better presentation for the town, just in terms of the facility. We have an economic footprint in New Canaan. So Norman and I actually for a number of other nonprofits have done economic impact analyses. So we did one for the Carriage Barn. And we based it, the number would actually be higher today than when we created this, because we've had an increase in visitors. But we took a look at our operating expenses, our capital expenses, and what visitors typically spend when they come to a cultural institution in a town. And our impact's about $1.1 million over the course of the year. So that's changed how we view ourselves. We view ourselves now as a contributor to the vitality of New Canaan, the economic vitality, a contributor to small business. And I think that's been a positive change for us. Did you want to
No, I'm.
add to the analysis?
I can't add to that.
So we recently did a strategic plan. We did our first strategic plan about 3 years ago, and we were very successful in accomplishing the goals. It was time for a new plan. So out of that came 3 priorities. One is more robust programming. And with that, we want to be operational for 12 months out of the year. And a key part of that will be our development plan and how we raise some more funds so that we can have some part-time staff to help facilitate some of the programming. Also on our short-term list of priorities is a summer camp program. We call it summer education. The town used to have a summer arts program that operated at Saks. It's been gone for a number of years. Any programs that we have run with children sell out right away. So those have been very successful. And if you look at our sustainability from a long-term perspective, camp is a very good way to become self-sustaining as an organization. So that's on our agenda. And then lastly, we want to enhance our marketing and communications, mainly to become known as a destination. So we want to be to New Canaan what some of the arts organizations are to Richfield. And that's how we're starting to perceive ourselves and what we are hoping to communicate. Another thought that we've had, since we are surrounded by so many cultural organizations, there's Silvermine, there's the Aldrich Museum. If we could do some sort of an art trail, we could cross our audience with some of the other audience and then try to increase participation that way. The last slide on this piece is our strategic planning goals. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of the balanced scorecard, but that's the approach that we used. It looks at a nonprofit organization from a holistic perspective. There's the financial and development perspective, there's marketing and outreach, there's the operational perspective, and then learning and growth, which is really the human resources piece. And just to give you an overview of the quadrants, the first quadrant really is around our development plan and raising more money to be able to afford some more staff. That's our biggest constraint, and that's our next challenge. And little known, I think, to most of the world, there's an art studio in the basement of the Carriage Barn that is underutilized, and we'd like to take a look at doing some renovations. We've had inquiries from artists. We think it might be valuable for the community. Marketing and outreach. We want to become a destination and grow our membership. Operationals focuses on programming. And then lastly, learning and growth really is about filling those strategic positions. And now Hillary's going to give you an overview.
And hang on, can I interrupt a second here? We on Zoom here are not seeing, if you're sharing, we have a black screen.
They're not sharing.
We're not sharing.
We have
printed.
printed handout.
We're sorry, but we're happy to send it to you.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
It was on the agenda.
So I'm just going to sort of take you through some of our major exhibits and programs that we do. If you're unfamiliar with the Carriage Barn or haven't been there in a while, there's a lot happening there and a lot of new things over the last few years. We kind of start our season every year with our annual member show. It's our longest running show, over 40 years. Every member of the Carriage Barn is, this is open to have one piece in that exhibit. So it includes works by kids and students and very well-established artists who, you know, are longtime members of our organization. And it usually coincides with, during this exhibit, host many local organizations. The PTCs come for their welcome back coffees at the Carriage Barn, and the newcomers and a lot of other groups are, you know, coming into this space at the time. The next exhibit that we do in October is sort of a newer thing that we started a few years ago. It started as Capturing Waveney, and then we expanded it to Capturing New Canaan. So on a weekend in October, we invite artists and photographers, anyone to come out around Waveney Park, but also to Irwin Park or downtown New Canaan or the Glass House or the Historical Society, and paint, you know, on outside, or photograph or sketch or whatever they want to do. And then a few weeks later, we exhibit all of those finished pieces. So it's an exhibit that's really truly dedicated to New Canaan. And it's really grown and evolved each year that we've done it. This year, that exhibit is going to include an exhibit of photography that the Preservation Connecticut has organized this year in honor of Frederick Law Olmsted's 200th birthday. So it's called Picturing History, Historic Landscapes of Connecticut. And that's opening this summer, and then it's going to be traveling, and the Carriage Barn is the first place it's going to travel to. And that'll be part of this exhibit. The next big exhibit that we do is Deck the Walls, that we just started 5 years ago, because it just felt like the Carriage Barn really, it called for something festive and fun around the holidays. And this also started as a fundraiser of these wreaths that we went out and asked artists and creative people, local businesses to create these one-of-a-kind wreaths and give them to us, that we then auctioned off. And it has just become a fabulous New Canaan tradition that people just have loved and, you know, are reaching out to us and want to be part of it. And then we incorporated, along with the wreaths, small works of art. Everything's $250 or less. And it's a 2-week exhibit that is like, there's things happening there every single day, and a lot of special events. The Board of Realtors has their annual party at the Carriage Barn during that exhibit, and it's just very fun. Our first major juried exhibit is our photography exhibit that is in January and February every year. This year, Platon, who's a world famous photographer and also New Canaan resident, agreed to be our juror for the exhibit. And this just generated so much excitement among our community of artists and photographers. And we had over 750 submissions for the exhibit, and it was just a beautiful show. And he came and spoke at the Carriage Barn, and it was really exciting and drew people from, you know, way beyond our local area. Then the high school exhibit that Angela mentioned, that is, this was the 10th year we've partnered with a high school to showcase that work. It's so important and just something we're totally committed to, and have such a great, you know, working relationship with the art department at the high school and, you know, beyond New Canaan High School as well. But it's wonderful to be able to do this at the Carriage Barn. And each year, there are always a handful of kids that I get to meet sort of through participating in this exhibit, who go on to get even more involved in our organization and become interns or volunteer for other things, which is really exciting. Spectrum is the exhibit that's open right now. This is our other major juried event. It's painting, sculpture, photography, everything. And just a beautiful show. We really tend to sort of partner with the design community on this show, because it's just contemporary art that, you know, people are in the market for. And, you know, we really want to put the focus on the Carriage Barn being a really great place to come discover new artists and buy artwork. Art in the Windows is coming up in June. This year, we're doing a downtown arts festival in conjunction with Art in the Windows. So that will be on June 4th. And we have permission from the town and the police department to close the little section between Elm Street and Main Street, and have a day-long art festival where we're going to have live music throughout the day, art activities for families. Artists will be out kind of showcasing what they do. We're doing a chalk art challenge for the community and just a lot of fun things. And this is something we've been really wanting to try out, and we would, you know, we want to sort of see how it goes downtown, and we'd love to maybe do something like this in the park in the future. So, but it's something that I think the community will love. And we're excited to do it on a greater scale. We've partnered with Live Girl, which is another New Canaan nonprofit dedicated to, you know, empowering young women from Connecticut and beyond. And they've done some really great work. And this is the 5th year we've done an exhibit in June for a couple of weeks with them that is all about artwork that is sort of celebrating girls and women and the power of, you know, expressing that feminine power. So that is coming up in June. Then we also really try and keep some time in our schedule. We have a very busy, you know, schedule of exhibits, but we try and keep time open to do, you know, when great opportunities come up to do them. So these are just a few things we recently did. Cynthia McCallum's a local New Canaan artist who did a really incredible project during COVID. And we were really excited to be able to showcase that entire project at the Carriage Barn for 2 weeks in November. And then the photo in the center is the sculpture that's currently at the Carriage Barn. This is part of the sculpture trail that we do with the Land Trust. This is the first piece that's been installed this year, but there will be 8 others around New Canaan. And coming up in October, we're doing a special exhibit tied to caffeine and carburetors when it's in Waveney. So we're going to have a sort of exhibit in the Carriage Barn at that time that ties into the theme, and we'll also tie in with October for Design, which is in that time frame in October. And then there are always just all kinds of special events that we do at the Carriage Barn. We just want to bring as many people in there, bring them to the park, give them another reason to come visit. And you know, these things range from kids woodworking classes, floral arranging and design workshops. We're doing an open mic night on Friday for, we have kids and adults coming to sing or perform, play the piano, kind of showcase whatever they do. We have like world-class chamber music concerts that have just come back, thankfully, after COVID. We just partnered with the Powerhouse Theater next door and did a joint event with them called Gin, Jazz, and Wit. So we had a party and jazz music at the Carriage Barn, and then people went over to see their play at the theater next door. So we're just always looking for new ways to do things, and we have some really great momentum. So we're excited to be there and just to keep growing and, hopefully.
That's right. If you had to, what is the difference between your two organizations? I'm still kind of trying to get my arms
It's the
around that.
same.
It's
So
the same.
They're
The
one and the
Carriage
same.
Barn is operated by the New Canaan Society for the Arts. So
Okay.
the New Canaan Society for the Arts is the nonprofit, that's sort of the officially our nonprofit
Oh,
organization.
okay, gotcha. All right, thank
And
you.
we operate the Carriage Barn, which is the gallery itself.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
For those of you who have not had a chance since the renovation, please drop by. There's almost always an interesting exhibit in the gallery, but then you'll also see the multi-purpose room. The various things that went on in terms of the renovation, which make it a more welcoming, attractive, fun kind of place. And our goal is to make this as one of the destinations when somebody thinks of New Canaan.
Sure.
It's a question. I noticed that some of your exhibits have sponsors. Art on the Walls, I think, was they had the most of them, and others have none. Is there a differentiation or just a question?
Not necessarily. Usually we will have 1 or 2 businesses sort of help underwrite various exhibits. Usually the member show does not have a sponsor, but it's really just underwriting support to cover exhibit expenses, and they get a little bit of exposure on our materials. But we're really fortunate to have such support, from the local business community.
And a follow-up question unrelated to that. Right now in the downstairs, you're talking about maybe using that, expanding its usage. There is the sculpture group is down there.
Yep.
Would they still have access to that, and yet you would add other?
Yeah.
Use the facility in a more productive way.
Right,
so to
exactly.
speak?
Yeah, their group is has sort of gotten smaller, and they're not, necessarily needing all of that space, but yeah, we have a long history with them and good relationship with them, but we're just sort of looking to, to bring it more in line with what our objectives are as an
Increase the
organization.
utilization of the space.
Right.
And along those lines too, the special meeting we had on April 25th, we approved the Pops in the Park concert on June 19th, I believe, Father's Day. So I don't know if that's an opportunity like you're doing with caffeine and carburetors.
Yeah.
That event's going to be like 6 to 8, 6 to 9, something like that.
Okay. And is that like on the terrace behind?
Yes, it's
Waveney?
mostly
Yeah.
going to be in the back half.
Okay.
Of it,
Okay, that's great.
So.
It's a little out of left field. By the way, this is just really impressive stuff. It's incredible all the stuff you're doing, and I'm embarrassed I didn't know it. But it seems to me all of this is branded, or most of it's branded with the Carriage House. And I'm wondering, Did you ever consider that you might use New Canaan as the branding? And just for 2 examples, the 42nd annual New Canaan Photography Show, or the New Canaan Arts, Arts in the Windows Festival. Did you ever consider doing that? It helps to brand the town, but also just maybe, and no offense, please, maybe just more powerful to people, especially from the outside, rather than the carriage barn.
Oh,
that kind-
interesting thought.
That kind of thing. One of the collaborations that would be very interesting is with the library, which, as you may know, does a fair an art exhibitions and things.
Yes.
And perhaps with Silver Mine and so forth, as we're talking about an arts New Canaan wide kind of collaboration that would lead to what you're talking about.
So anyway, just,
Yeah, we appreciate it.
that was, I hope nothing.
I will say, just sort of along those lines, are the artists who are members or who, come to every exhibit, and just the Carriage Barn Arts Center, we are very well known and among that sort of community of like Fairfield County and beyond. And I think, our space is like every other arts organization, wishes they had the beautiful, location and space that we have in that building. And, I do think it's a great brand, but I think, incorporating the New Canaan Society for the Arts into it is an interesting thought.
It could be the New Canaan Carriage Barn,
Right,
obviously, too,
right.
so to not
Yeah,
take away from.
Right.
yeah.
To Hank's point, to potentially branding it as something as one name, we can all sort of correlate to, it would be helpful
Would
because
be much easier.
be a lot
No,
easier.
I've wondered if we could pull that off and just
Mhm.
become the Carriage Barn Arts Center.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll put it on the
Or
agenda.
you can garage, something of that
Right.
nature.
Yeah.
So, okay. Are there any other questions or comments?
This was great. And right
Right,
now
yeah.
it's the Spectrum exhibit that's going
Yeah.
on.
Yep,
Yeah.
through May 22nd.
Yeah. And thank you for what you're doing and continuing to add value to the town. There's obviously a lot of great things going on at Waveney, as we saw with Phoebe, and we're excited about that. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thanks.
Thank
Our
you.
pleasure.
Well,
Great job.
Sculpture of the head
I will
forever.
say-
That's
Yeah.
fabulous.
Recently, we had an opportunity to reflect on what's gone on the, in a sense, the Waveney Park, and included the dog run and the pool and the playing fields. And I include the high school in there in terms of the various improvements, the roads, the Tiger Man Way and so forth. I'm a 37-year New Canaan resident. And the improvements and the liveliness of Waveney over, say, the last 15 years has been dramatic. And we're sort of got a tailwind for the Carriage Barn, partly because of the way that the park has since brought us along. It's really quite enjoyable to see it in action.
Yep. Good comment. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank
You're
you.
more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if.
Well,
if you want to.
really great job.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Howe.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm good. So as I've told you guys before, I probably got the best job in the world. Today started off early morning, go to the Parks Department, meet with those guys, figure out what's going on there a little bit. Go up to Waveney for about 5 minutes before I head to a manager's meeting, which, they could be good or bad, but nothing. But during that meeting, Todd and I both got calls because the batting cage that's being installed over at the girls' orchard field, the poles were going in. They drilled through a power cable that wasn't marked.
Oh.
So that took a good part of our day. And while that's going on, Bee calls me because the police called her to say, we have a swarm of honeybees down at the playground at Mead Park. Now, the good part is they're honeybees. And when honeybees are swarming, that's good It's good for the environment. It's not good for the person that probably lost the hive, but it could have come from a natural hive. So we dealt with a beekeeper who came in and basically repurposed the hive. He captured the bees and watching all the kids and fascinated by it. And then, so the day's pretty much over and I decided to have dinner with my daughter in Norwalk, and you're lucky I showed up because at 6:45, she goes, "Dad, what time's your meeting?" I said, 7:00, gotta go. So, overall, great job. It's so much fun. But with that, things are going great. A day like today changes everybody's attitude. Like tennis is growing. Right now, youth tennis is up 104% from last year, which was record setting. The adult tennis is 110%. So people are definitely out there. While we're talking about that, we were able to open the tennis courts early. Hindsight, too early. And with all the wet weather, we're fighting with soft courts.
Okay.
Weather like this is helping. We've had some tapes move, had to have them reattached and things like that, but we're getting through it. So if we had the same weather next year, we'd probably be looking at more like a May 1st opening, which would be more realistic.
Is that because of rain and cold, or, because obviously we could have a big stretch of rain at any point?
Yes, part of it is when it's damp like that and the rain, the clay doesn't firm up. We
Okay.
have to roll them every day anyways, but it just never packs down the same way. And we should have kept people off them because we would have done a little less brushing, a little less loosening the tapes early. We're gonna get through it, but it's just not where I'd like to be when we were able to open this early.
So we're getting too good at opening them on time. That's,
Yeah, for
It's a
one
good-
year.
yeah.
Last year we were able to open them
Yeah.
early too, but I think we just jumped the gun just a little bit. Just like so many things, we're excited to open and it's what
Yeah,
happened. So,
I don't know. My group used it 3 times that week in April and we loved it. It was
Yeah,
great.
exactly.
I'll say the
Probably
same. We've used it many times before the end of April.
Yeah.
So it's great.
So that's going on. This is going to be the largest year for youth program offerings. It can be anything from the day camp to computer coding, to baking, to tennis and swim, baseball and swim, field hockey and swim, where they can play a little bit of sport and then go relax, swimming in the pool, tennis instruction, swim lessons, and I could keep going, but so that's good. The pool opens, the Steve Banko pool opens on Memorial Day. It will be open from, doesn't open on Memorial Day, excuse me. It opens Memorial Day weekend for the weekend, and then it will be closed until the following Saturday. With that, it regularly would open up at 11 o'clock, right, Steve? Open up at 11 o'clock. We're probably, with the dedication, not going to open it up until 12 that day. We're just trying, just so that we don't have people swimming while anything's going on. The Kiwanis Beach opens on June 11th, right around the corner. And of course, July 4th, the fireworks are on. The passes go on sale June 1st. Fireworks are going to be Saturday night, July 2nd this year. And the rain date for July 3rd, and then another rain date of the next weekend. I believe it's the 9th.
Yes.
Hopefully we're not going to go to the 3rd rain date. So registration for programs through the roof. Some of them are sold out. Other ones are right there on the edge. I could go through them all, but you'd be hearing a bunch of numbers that wouldn't really mean anything, but programs are great. People are still registering for everything. So summer concerts start on, the first one starts on June 15th. This year, Steve has gotten 13 summer concerts. So every Wednesday. And the Parks Department, well, we wanted to seed the dog park this week and fence it off, and we just didn't make it there. But with that said, we're hoping to be out there next week. We're gonna seed the worst section on the top and fence it off, and that probably will be fenced off into the fall. We want to let the grass establish itself, and without irrigation in there, we're dependent on the weather. The guys are out mowing, doing all that stuff. The first fertilization of the athletic fields has been completed. The pool is We're pumping chlorine in it. We've done the first backwash. We're getting everything ready, so we're excited there. As I mentioned, the batting cage project is going. We worked out the problems. We hopefully can get back on track in the next day or so. And other than that, for Waveney itself, post-prom is Friday night. And I think the security guards are probably gonna be the best security guards we've had in a long time. So, but other than that, if anybody has any questions.
Go ahead, George, go ahead.
Just two things. Can you touch base on the capital projects that were approved and when you think they're going to get underway, the playground, some of the other aspects?
Well, like the playground, right now, there's talk about setting up a committee to pick out equipment and and that type of stuff. Nothing's been formalized yet.
Okay.
Other capital projects, money's been approved almost. I believe next week is town council. You're done?
Yeah, it's the fiscal year doesn't start till July 1st, right?
July 1st. Some of the money we found out today in the managers meeting might be available before July 1st. Capital projects that aren't bonded, they're taking it out of a different fund, so we might be able to squeak a little bit earlier.
Okay.
But, you know, now that we've gone through the process, everything will start running, but we're not really there yet.
Okay, gotcha. Steve, I'm sorry.
So on the bees, I'm just curious, was it a neighbor's beehive? Or did you call in a professional beekeeper? What?
We called in a professional beekeeper because I tried having bees for 2 years and I failed miserably. And I gave away all my stuff. So I can't remember the name of the company, but it was Pete the beekeeper. He works with the Nature Center on their hives up there. And these bees he was taking to Scarsdale.
Okay.
For whatever reason. So
I may know whose bees those are.
Okay.
I don't know if it matters because they're gone now, but
yeah.
A neighbor.
It was pretty interesting because they swarmed on the yellow cover to the fence.
Yeah.
And we actually had to remove that cover because they were already inside there.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It took about 2.5, 3 hours to get most of them into the box.
Wow. My other question was, you mentioned irrigation at Spencer's Run. That's not the issue, right? Like it's not a lack of water, or should the park be thinking about irrigation there in order to, because I know it generally is an issue, right? Not enough
The
grass.
only reason we'd want irrigation really would be to establish the grass and then the driest part of the summer. Most of the problems we have there with keeping the grass is that it's open no matter what the weather is.
Okay.
So it's when it's partially frozen, when it's completely muddy, that does a number on the
Got it.
grass.
So having an irrigation system would be helpful in the hottest months, but it wouldn't necessarily cure the issues of the muddy.
It won't alleviate all the issues by any means.
Okay.
So I don't really think it would be worth the expense.
Okay.
Okay.
And I did forget one thing. Due to COVID supply issues and labor shortages and everything else, the concession at the pool, they're looking to maybe not have one day where they're not open, either Tuesday or Wednesday. And we'd like to bring in a food truck. We have a couple of the food trucks that would be interested in doing it, but we officially need your approval if we're allowed to do that.
Okay. Do you want to put that in the form of a motion that we are approving a food truck for one day a week to be determined the day?
How about 1 or 2 days a week, just to cover us in case something, in case it gets worse, and yes.
Okay, so 1
or 2 days a week, only when the concession is closed.
Exactly.
Good point. Good point.
And this came up because Apple Cart came to us about trying the possibility of being closed 1 or 2 days.
Okay.
Really?
So Wednesday. Is there a
You've
motion?
already identified who might
Was it?
who might be
Can't
the
have a
food
motion.
trucks, or you'd kind of put it out to bid. I don't know how that would work.
We went and asked the 8 food trucks that are coming for the 4th of July.
Okay, great.
Because they are the ones that have showed interest
You're right.
and they know what they have to do as far as
Right.
the permitting process and everything else. And so of those 8, 2 were interested.
And they-
maybe a third one.
And they would be consistently the ones who would be there, or would rotate.
If we had our way, we think it would be nice to rotate,
Yeah, it'd be cool.
you know, just so, okay, I don't know, Taco Tuesday.
Right, right.
And Grilled Cheese Wednesday, and I'm just
Mhm.
picking foods. I'm not
Mhm.
saying those are the companies.
Is that likely to be the same day each week then that Apple
We
Cart is
definitely would like to do the same day
Yeah.
each week. So people
established
know.
a schedule?
Yeah,
Gene just brought a good point. Since it's not on the agenda, we'll have to vote on this in the June meeting.
Okay.
Is that okay?
that's okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
John, would any of those food trucks have an interest in Kiwanis? Or is that a whole different?
It's a whole different
Barrel
animal.
fish.
We thought we had somebody that was willing to come into the concession stand. Unfortunately, that hasn't worked out. Francesca can talk about food truck if you want.
The food truck that I encountered said that they would call me and never did call me back. And I went back to where they were and couldn't get them. But I am of the belief that food trucks, as you're wanting to do at the pool, would be the way to go at Kiwanis as well, on a rotating basis, different types of trucks. But something that people can count on for lunch and maybe breakfast too. Thanks.
And if we find people that are interested, we'll have to come back for approval for that too.
Right. If it's going to be in June, then maybe we can get this on the June thing too. I
And-
also wanted to mention, since you were talking about Spencer's Run, everybody should be reminded that June is the month of renewal licensing your dogs.
And well, since you mentioned Spencer's Run, we're gonna try, in the past, we used to mow it first thing in the morning every week, and we'd aggravate the same people. And they'd say, you gotta come at 9 o'clock. Nobody's here at 9 o'clock. We go to 9 o'clock and they'd say, you gotta come at 11 o'clock. Nobody's here then. So this year, we're gonna rotate it around. We mowed it this morning, so we did it early in the morning. Next week, it will be about 9 o'clock. And I say about because there's other things that we'll be doing, and then we're gonna, the third week, do it just before lunchtime. And then, so it will be every 3 weeks. If you come every morning, every 3 weeks, you'll be aggravated because we're in there.
I think on the food trucks, if I may, I think Steve Benko's nephews have a pizza truck company, I believe.
I believe they got rid of it.
They did. They sold it. Okay. Thought it might be a nice touch.
You know, what we're finding is a lot of them have what they're going to do. And they don't necessarily, aren't able to necessarily have enough staff
Mhm.
to another day.
Right.
If they're doing the weekend someplace and they're really busy, all of a sudden, they don't want to put in a mediocre day,
Mhm.
so.
Right. Okay.
John, could you just take just a couple of seconds and tell us, what you know about the two brush fires, at Briscoe, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Bristol Park.
Thank you for reminding me. There was a fairly good sized brush fire. When I say fairly good size, 20 by 40, 20 by 30, that type of thing. Most likely it was kids that set up what I'd call a fire ring, some rocks in the middle of the path. And with some of these high winds, the fire got away from them and fire company had to go and put out the fire. So overall, there's been no arrests.
Where was that?
In the bird sanctuary. in Bristol.
Really?
Yep.
Was the damage slight?
The damage was nothing. It's the surface leaves that were caught on fire. So luckily it was put out fairly quickly and without any problems. So.
It's had a rough year, the bird sanctuary. That's too bad.
Are there any other questions for John? John, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Moving on to my report, I'll keep it very brief. I just want to encourage everybody to attend the ceremony on June 4th at the Benko Pool. Be great to see you all there. And please bring your friends and others. I'm sure the Benko family would greatly appreciate that too. And John, if you need any help for that event, setting something up, you want to ping us beforehand, you need some extra bodies down there.
Okay, I'm gonna have some guys in the Parks Department work the event.
Okay.
Because there's gonna be a few signs put up, permanent signs that won't be unveiled until that morning.
Understood. Yep.
And stuff, so.
Okay.
I think we have it under control, but I appreciate it. though.
No problem. Okay. Is there any other business? Is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Carl. Second. Thank you, Keith. All those in favor? Appreciate it, guys. We will see you hopefully on June 4th.
Did this in exactly an hour.
Yeah.
Sounds good.